What's up, guys? So I didn't find anything that I particularly liked, but what we're going to do is remove drawings and just have a quick peek at what it is we could have potentially looked at. So GU. Okay. I want to get my flowcharts up. One and POI flowchart open. Okay, so there was nothing valid on GJ. Nothing. I shouldn't say nothing. There might have been something in this. So let's have a quick look at gold. So gold, again, I didn't take any trades. I was a little bit busy this morning too, and yeah, typically once I hit yeah, a few a few half decent trades, especially at the beginning of the week. I usually typically will just kind of spend some time away from the charts, look at really high probability areas, and just kind of wait for higher time frame to do its thing before I get involved, because oftentimes I will kind of have this toxic habit of trying to squeeze even more profit out of the market, whether it be personal, funded, whatever it is. So I just, yeah, tend to keep the market at like arm's length. For very obvious reasons, trying to stay away from over trading and giving back a bunch of money that belongs to me. So gold, this was kind of like the only play that I was really somewhat interested in. So 4-hour demand, and I think we talked about this on the Sunday look ahead, if I'm not mistaken. So basically what I saw is we kind of got this, yeah, we'll call this the initial tap that gets swept. Essentially, we get this change of character or change in 15-minute swing structure, which is right here, right? So this is our boss. So once this boss, 15-minute boss, let's go back down to the 15 now. We can see our break of structure, very clear. We don't necessarily look to take this first trade. I think it was more yesterday. So for today, what I would say, like the only thing I don't necessarily like here is that we didn't have, oh no, we have a level to take, and then we've got inducement sweeping down. Yeah, you could have potentially got involved here. So this, we have a 15-minute POI. We are leaving from, this is not really a supply zone, so I would still call this pro order flow. We're looking in this wick down here. When did this happen anyways? June 16th. This was 7:00 a.m. So we have the initial POI. We could potentially look at some refined stuff. So let's just have a look at gold, see if there was anything. Start on the 3-minute. Okay, so we do get the 3-minute sort of wick down here. Let's just see if there's anything cleaner on the 2-minute. Yeah, nice clean 1 minute. Yeah, so I probably would have looked at this entire zone, this entire down move before the expansion, after the break of structure, level to take into the POI. So this is pretty decent. So that's a 1-minute POI that I was looking at. Yeah, and then super clean. This is actually a 15-minute realignment here, which ends up being the same as like a 1 minute. So what I would look at is this level right here. This is our structure realigning, BOS 15 boss. Once we get the boss, what created the break of structure? The original break happens right here on the first supply failure. So obviously lots of little details to sort of catch here, potentially get you into this reversal. So once we sort of tap into the extreme refinement, we can start to look at potentially trading the seconds. Dang, it's cool that I'm seeing this in hindsight, but I just wasn't watching this too heavily at the beginning of the session. So we have levels of liquidity to take, right? Levels to take. Liquidity, a bunch of stuff to target right here. We just get a liquidation of the high, not a big deal. There's tons of orders resting above, a bunch of sellers. And then furthermore, we have all this liquidity up here to sort of go after. So I would have probably targeted, this is a weak high, given the fact that we get a 15-minute order flow shift. If you wanted to be really conservative with your target on gold, you could have potentially targeted something like this just before the weak high. Obviously, we blow right through it, but maybe you just saw this as a potential area for a deeper pullback and you wanted to get kind of scale out of your position. That would have been reasonable as well. So let's just go 15 supply. Supply kind of comes down like this. Liquidity to take in, all that kind of fun stuff. So let's go down to our lower time frame and see if there was a potential entry, break of structure, liquidation of the low, liquidity to take from the market, liquidity to take from the market here, bunch to target in terms of EOF. So yeah, I think that's a reasonable trade setup. Like I said, I just didn't take it because I was too scared to donate profits back this after having such a good sort of start to my week. Okay, so we get the change of character that happens right here. How would I have gotten in if I would have? So liquidity to take, boom, liquidity to target across the highs, interaction. We have a flip zone right here. Yeah, this is a little bit tricky, to be honest with you. Let's go back out to the one. So if we look at this as our 1 minute refined zone, at the change of character, let me just map out this chalk. Technically, you can use a seconds chart when we get down into that 1 minute refined. Chalk, 1 minute chalk. Let's go over to the 5 second. Okay, so what causes the change of character? Yeah, you could argue that it's this right here, right? We push down, we do come from a sweep. Obviously, we could look a little bit more aggressively down in here, but I probably would have been waiting for this extreme to sort of get tapped. And ideally, we want like a level to take into our POI. So once we look at the 1 minute, like you can correlate and say like, okay, we've essentially taken that out. We've done that right here. Oops. We need something to take into it. So ideally what we would look for is to take, yeah, at least this level into here. This doesn't really interact with anything though. So I don't know if I would have been able to personally be able to pull trigger on this just based on the fact that I probably would have been waiting for at least, you know, this right here to probably get mitigated and then take this guy like that, taking out all of this liquidity. That would have been probably more of my setup for liquidity to take and then liquidity to target in terms of expectational order flow. So got involved. Like I said, the only real logical place would be if you looked at this as that 1 minute change of character, pushes down, does not chalk, pushes up. We have this level to take into the extreme. I would say that, yeah, you could have possibly done it. More often than not, what will happen is as soon as you push through here, you're going to want to move over to break even and you probably would have got taken out anyways, just because of how volatile gold can be. So yeah, that's the setup. If you would have got involved, like I said, for me personally, I would have liked to see sort of like this interaction area right here underneath liquidity get tapped into and then been able to take this up to the upside for gold. So yeah, if I'm being honest, like even though this is a hindsight trade, I could very easily tell you, yeah, would have got in here, would have got in here. Like I don't think I would have got in based on the fact that we had an unmitigated flip sitting right here, and I probably would have waited for this zone to get tapped before running. Everybody understand? Drop a 1 if you were good, and a 2 if you have a question about this specifically. Yeah, I just think that it's, to me, it's probably a little bit of a forced trade. If I'm being honest, if I would have been chasing price a little bit, I probably would have been waiting for at least this range. If and when we got into this range, I'd look for some details to then get in, or I would have had a very specific POI like this with a limit sitting on it. So my 2 cents. So yeah, to me, really, honestly, what caused the change of character? For me, it's the flip. Flip doesn't get mitigated. No fucking trade. Cool. Let's move over to EU. Go to R15. Okay, so if we look over to the left-hand side, I believe we're reacting to the extreme. So we'll just kind of piece this together a little bit and see if there's something that makes sense. Demand. Okay, 15 demand, there we go. It's good. So we're getting the reaction. We built liquidity, pushed down. We built liquidity across the highs. We're into the extreme area of 4-hour price. So if you look at how this sits, and we're also reacting to that weekly demand all the way over to the left, we have seen the chalk, right? Are we expecting this to take out this high? Potentially could. There's no reason we couldn't, right? And ultimately, if we get this 4-hour chalk like this, or a 15-minute chalk at the extreme, usually what the market's going to want to do is start to go after these potential early sellers, liquidate into just above here, kind of fulfilling that extreme, and then potentially crash down, or potentially start looking to take this into like maybe a higher time frame flip zone, something along the lines of, coming up into here, breaking down, breaking above, coming back down into the flip, and then taking out all this liquidity here as well. So we need to see how it frames up to be able to kind of confirm what the bias is right now. But the theory in looking at weak highs, weak lows, all that kind of fun stuff, we've liquidated, we've had an order flow shift, we've come down to mitigate the extreme refinement. The theory is that if we've seen an order flow shift at an extreme, chances are money wants to start flowing this way, and they're going to want to basically mitigate out of the sell positions to get us down into these buy levels from a higher time frame. So we'll have to monitor, look for lower time frame sort of confirmations in these levels. Doesn't mean that we can't break a new low from here. It just means that we need to read what price is telling us. And if we are going to take sells at levels like this because we get confirmations, we need to treat them as if they were a hedge. If you want to hold them higher time frame wise, what you would have to do is, okay, like let's say for whatever reason we get confirmations at this level, we've liquidated all of this stuff, and now we want to start moving down this way. You would then need to, if you wanted to take this into potential weak lows, what you would need to do is treat this as if we are taking this as a hedge against this position right here, because technically the only way we could get into this long is now once this has broken, right? So once this has broken, right, our swing structure has broken, now we are potentially trading this as a pro structure move. So you could take the sells with the higher time frame narrative to potentially take these weak lows out. But the next move in the market, you would also need to take a hedged position from this level, given the fact that this is the one that correlates a lot heavier with what price is doing on the M15 in terms of swing and order flow, if that makes sense. Does everybody understand that? So if you took buys somewhere in here, like technically speaking, in relation to our flow chart models, this would be a violation. And the reason why it's a violation is because in order for us to be taking these moves into new highs, we need to see a break of structure, and structure is structure. It's not, we're not talking about internal. This is an order flow shift, right? And then maybe you could use confirmations in here to potentially get yourself in. But ultimately, in order for us to trade pro trend, trend needs to be established. And at this point right here, when we came into, we've broken down, we had a supply level sitting like this. Expectational order flow is to technically take out this low, right? So if the low doesn't get taken, we need to at least see the structural high go so that we can confirm that this is in fact a potential for a trend reversal. Doesn't mean you couldn't have interpreted your way around and tiptoed around to potentially get in. And there's a good trade in here, but the way that we at least try to trade, and ideally the best way to trade, is that we want to be able to see that order flow is aligning with our structure and being able to make sure that we're not the first ones in, and actually establishing a direction for the potential trend. So again, just my personal thoughts. I just didn't take any of these trades. So Doesn't mean they're not valid, but yeah, I just don't have anything to really provide at these levels, given the fact that we needed to be pro swing in order to take these trades. We come back down into here at this point, we could still see this as potentially a pro trend move to take the sells, depending on how you interpret data. But the pro trend move now comes from this low to be able to take this up here. If and when it happens, that's the only sort of areas that I'm really interested in trading over the next day or so. So just see what else we have. I think that's it. GU. Just going to go over GU right now. So one of the things that I was sort of looking at was on the 4 hour. I was expecting this level right here to potentially hold. Okay, if we had a break of structure here. Now, one of the violations of the flow chart that I would have been in is that technically our swing structure is from here to here. So you can see that we're very, very close to it. So if you would have just moved your structural level to this leg right here, this leg in price is the one that we're in. That's how I was able to sort of validate that POI. And the POI that I'm talking about is basically sitting, let me just get rid of this stuff, in this little flip zone that rests like this. Okay, so I'm just going to show this because it's definitely an important little area. So there's a demand zone. I mean, technically we could look at this entire range as demand, whatever it is that you want to do. But where's the most recent break happen from? There's something going on in here. Probably see this a little bit more on the lower time frames. So I would take this entire level as supply. Okay. Supply sits like this. Okay, supply. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go down onto our lower time frames and see what we sort of have here to make this make sense. Now, you can see demand, right? Demand turns into supply. So ultimately, if you look at the refinement within these areas, I would be looking above liquidity right here. The area that I'm most interested in would be this entire sort of range across like this. So we get the tap in. However, right now, obviously, we are looking at this as bullish order flow. So in order for us to interpret this properly and be able to get into a potential position, we have a 15-minute POI. So what, in fact, do we need to be able to potentially look at this position? It would be a 15-minute change of character. Obviously, we're sitting above liquidity, so that's great. We do get the sweep into the area. The problem with this specific spot is that ultimately we do not see the proper order flow shift. You can see that we respect demand here, and this ends up continuing to sort of push higher. So unfortunately, there was no trade setup available for that. Furthermore, I'm now looking at, again, just little areas like this to see what's happening. We're above liquidity. What are we looking for at these levels? Ideally, we'd want to see something create bearish order flow to then maybe possibly take this down against the 4-hour leg. But until all of these things happen, there's no real trade idea that's going to frame up for us just yet. So yeah, like I said, the only real thing that I was interested in, I had an alert set at this level, and then it was really simple. I just waited. Once I saw this nice reaction, I set my alert underneath this level, and it never got triggered. We ended up breaking the high first, so I just got rid of my alerts to be able to say, you know what, there's no trade available. Don't bother forcing things. Ultimately, you're trying to catch tops if you're looking for 1-minute chalks and flips when it comes to a counter order flow move. Order flow needs to shift on at least our 15 to be able to then confirm, and it's also going to depend on the delivery into the extreme as well as the flip zone on the lower time frames on whether or not this gains relevance against what the higher time frame leg is doing. Everybody with me? So yeah, no trades. Really, honestly, there was nothing super great today. At least the way that I see it, I didn't see any super valid trade ideas. It is what it is. There's not always going to be a perfect setup. Like I said, you could have potentially, a lot of people might have saw this liquidation, possibly got involved across here. That's fine. If this correlates with your rules. Personally, like I said, for me, I was looking for the sells as a counter order flow move to be able to take this against higher time frame with liquidity to essentially target. Could be wrong on this entire thing right now, but ultimately we're moving against the 4-hour structural leg, and I'm expecting to see some sort of a new low put in at some point or another. And now it's just a matter of sitting here waiting for fine details to kind of work their way out to be able to then take this into potential EOF lows. So that's it. I'll get this uploaded for you guys shortly. Have a good rest of your day. Tomorrow is the live trading session as well as the case study building session. We are going to probably get on around 7:30 tomorrow morning. Just check and see if there's freaking news tomorrow. Hopefully there isn't. Forex Factory. And yeah, so today we had the GBP, bunch of stuff. Of course, we have news tomorrow. That's just the way it works. 8:45, Fed Chair Powell speaks. So we'll just be mindful of that. Maybe we'll try to get involved with something just before. It's going to be hard to sort of decipher whether or not something's going to frame up. But yeah, so right now I'll just leave you guys be. And what I'll do is getting towards the end of the session, getting into spread hours, I'll make sure to get this daily look ahead, hopefully uploaded in time and hopefully no issues with it. And we'll have a quick peek at, yeah, essentially what's going on the higher time frame. I'll get some higher time frame POIs mapped out for us. I'll get the markers for us so that we can just basically be able to see what we need to see at specific levels, et cetera, et cetera. And we'll just move forward from there. And yeah, if there's nothing that sets up for us tomorrow, so be it. And we just sit back and relax and wait until something correlates with our plan. Otherwise, everything's going to be forced and it's going to be almost impossible to measure your edge against how you actually trade it within the market. So have a good day, guys. I will see you guys tomorrow morning. And yeah, do not overtrade. Let the market come to you. Let order flow realign in the direction you want to trade from the higher time frame perspective, and just sit back and relax until then. Cheers, guys. Peace out.